Thank you for joining us here at CVTV News. I'm David Kerr. I'd like to welcome back my co-host, Deirdre Haven. I'm sure I speak for our viewers as well when I say we've missed you and we're really glad you're back.
You're very kind, David. Thank you. It's good to be back. We would also like to say a special thank you to our sponsor, Germanna Community College. Find your future at Germanna.
Go Germanna.
Have you ever bought groceries where shopping is a pleasure?
No.
How about getting freshly cooked meal samples from a teaching chef? Do you like BOGOs? You know, the buy one, get one frees. Would you like to be greeted by your cashier and welcome into the checkout lane without looking for one? And a choice of paper or plastic, and a bagger that automatically takes your purchase to your car for no tip, unless you tell them otherwise?
That went away in 1950, Deirdre.
No, it's not. If you answered yes to any of these questions, you probably know about Publix. It's an upscale, employee-owned retail grocery chain originating in Lakeland, Florida by late founder Jerry Jenkins. Every year since 1998, it's been awarded one of the Fortune magazine's 100 best companies to work for, earning recognition as one of the magazine's Great Place to Work legends. Publix has long been an icon in Florida and has gradually moved northward. I often travel to its 49,098 square foot store in Cosner's Corner.
That's a big place.
And that's in Spotsylvania County, to purchase authentic specialty Cuban bread and ice cream brands that no other retailer has. Apparently, I'm not the only one. Food World's latest market study shows that Cosner's Corner Publix has $12.5 million in sales by the end of March. That's good for Spotsylvania area, and now Stafford will get boasting rights too. Publix Supermarkets has leased a location at the northeast corner of Courthouse and Mine Roads in what is expected to become Embry Mill Town Center. It announced plans Monday to open an approximately 48,000 square foot store there that would employ around 130 people. The Stafford location will be the northernmost location of its over 1,200 stores on the East Coast.
Well, that's close to where I live. I'm excited about that.
My heart has an affinity for that because that was my first job. I worked at Publix.
Well, as of July 1st, 17 new laws regarding families, abuse, transportation, and age-restricted indulgences took effect in Virginia. Although Deirdre and I plan on telling you about many of these changes, we unfortunately don't have enough time to cover them all. So we strongly encourage our viewers to research these new laws. For those looking to start a family, you may want to know about Jacob's Law. It's new and will allow an unmarried individual, as well as same-sex couples, to have a child through surrogacy. There's also a new eviction relief law aimed at reducing the number of evictions by giving tenants more time to pay rent and fees ahead of an eviction notice, and limiting the number of legal actions a landlord may file. Heaven's Law, named after the 11-year-old victim in Norfolk, brings changes to how social workers investigate child abuse allegations. During an investigation, caseworkers are now required to look back at least 5 years to see if a child has been abused or neglected in another state. In addition, priests, ministers, rabbis, and other clergy members are now required to report suspected cases of child abuse or neglect to law enforcement. The law does exempt clergy members from the mandatory reporting requirement when confidentiality is required by the doctrine of their religious organization, such as anything a priest may hear during confession. In regards to our animal friends, there's Tommy's Law. This is one of my favorites, which makes it a Class 6 felony, I repeat, felony, to abandon, treat with cruelty, or to allow such suffering as to threaten the life, safety, or health of an animal. These crimes carry a punishment of from 1 to 5 years in jail. As I said, it's one of my favorites.
In transportation, there have been some changes to the child car seat laws. Children 8 and younger must be secured in a U.S. Department of Transportation approved child restraint seat. All children must be placed in the back seat unless the car does not have a back seat, in which case the front passenger seat must have a deactivated or non-existent airbag. In addition, toddlers must be placed in rear-facing seats until the age of 2 or when the weight limit for the said device is reached. In work zones, drivers will now be prohibited from holding their cell phone in any highway area marked for construction or maintenance. If caught, there's a mandatory fine of $250. The only exceptions include an emergency vehicle while they are working, if a driver is parked or stopped using and using your GPS or wireless communication devices used to transmit or receive data as part of a digital dispatch system. Or lastly, if the driver is using a cell phone to report an emergency. There's also a move over reckless driving law too. If you're traveling on a highway with at least 4 lanes and you approach a vehicle on the shoulder with flashing lights, which include hazard lights, law enforcement, or emergency personnel, you must move over. If it's unsafe to change lanes, drivers must proceed with caution and maintain a safe speed. Although these offenses are only categorized as a Class 1 misdemeanor of reckless driving, the same as an 80 mile per hour or more, they still carry a hefty fine.
Suspended licenses for unpaid court fees are now a thing of the past. More than 627,000 Virginians will have their suspended driver's licenses reinstated. While the new law eliminates the suspension of driver's license for motorists with unpaid court costs and fines, it does not, however, remove their responsibility to pay such fees. If your driver's license was revoked for something other than outstanding court fees or fines, you must meet other court or DMV requirements, including the payment of the reinstatement fees in order to regain your driving privileges. You can expect to pay more for car inspections and VRE fares too. The price of getting a car's yearly safety inspection has risen from $16 to $20, while the VRE, that's the Virginia Railway Express fares, have increased by about 3%. In education, Rebecca's Law, introduced by our own Bob Thomas here in Stafford County, permits the Board of Education to issue written reprimands to teachers or any other license holder who knowingly and willingly fully commits a certain acts related to secure mandatory tests administered to students. Administration may now issue a written reprimand to a teacher who breaches his employment contract after the school board or division superintendent declines to grant such teacher's request for release from such contract on the grounds of insufficient or unjustifiable cause. Both instances provide for a written reprimand option rather than the revocation of the teaching license. The Wesley Charles Lepicki Act, named after a 9-year-old Wesley Lepicki who was crushed to death by a motorized partition at an Alexandria school, prohibits employees from opening or closing an electronic partition in any school building except under certain limited circumstances, and must have annual safety training, the staff must have annual safety training on how to use them properly.
There are laws regarding age-restricted indulgences. They've changed a bit. The tobacco purchasing age increased. You may not purchase or possess tobacco products, nicotine vapor products, and alternative nicotine products unless you are 21 years old or are active military personnel older than age 18. The military exception is only applicable if the person can produce a valid military ID, a card issued by the armed forces. If you win more than $10 million in the Virginia lottery, oh yes, your personal information may now be confidential, unless of course you want your name, hometown, and amount won to be publicized.
I'll have lots of new relatives.
You will have lots of new relatives. Delaware, Kansas, Maryland, North Dakota, Ohio, South Carolina, and Texas all allow lottery winners to remain anonymous regardless of amount won. Virginia joins Arizona and Georgia in states that allow lottery winners to remain anonymous after winning a certain prize amount, in our case, $10 million or more. We'll be right back after this.